The NFL draft season process, everything leading up to draft night, the first round, is, in my opinion, the absolute best, most exciting and thrilling time of the calendar year for football. And with the Super Bowl just around the corner and then eventually over, it is going to be time to dive headfirst into the NFL draft. Of course, there's still free agency. You got to re-sign players. There's going to be trades that are going to happen. But draft night at Lambeau Field this year, the end of April, is my favorite night of the calendar year for football. And I'm super excited to be bringing you content revolving around the draft, whether that's talking about the first overall pick, top prospects, teams that need to make moves, teams that need to win their drafts, or players that we can see skyrocketing or even falling down draft boards. I'm super excited to bring you along the entire process as we discuss everything regarding the first round, and maybe we even get into some second round conversations. But I'm super excited to dive into this because I've gone live over the past few years on draft night for the first round up to about the Patriots draft pick and a little bit past it. But I want to take it to a whole nother level this year and bring you more content. And I even have a friend of mine to help me do that, and I'm very excited to slide him in right here. This video was brought to you by my loyal patrons through the channel membership program. Pledge today and receive exclusive perks, benefits, early access to videos, and more. Link in the description. Hector, good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I just had a whole introduction to kind of what we're doing here, but first I want people to get an idea of who you are. So why don't you introduce yourself a little bit? You got a T-Law jersey on?
T-Law jersey.
That's crazy.
Hi, I'm Hector, as you just said. Long-time collector, longer fan of the NFL than a collector, though. Mostly collect Pokemon, getting into football because, this Pokemon hobby is not doing too good right now. I mean, good for people who can resell and all, but as a personal collector who's trying to essentially master set Prismatic,
very tough right now.
Very tough.
Very tough right now.
It's either way it's enjoyable. Like I said, getting into football, trying to get into other TCGs, not too sure.
Godzilla TCG.
The Godzilla, the one I found.
That's crazy.
$30 per pack.
That's crazy.
No.
Maybe we'll start a Pokemon podcast sometime after the NFL draft. Maybe when things kind of calm down, in the spring, summertime.
That's fine with me.
All right, so I sent you some questions, and first of all, let's just kind of start off with what do we think draft night's going to kind of entail? And of course, that's such a very broad question. It's a very vague question, but do we see a lot of quarterbacks going? Do we see a lot of teams trading down, trading up? Do we see a defensive heavy kind of draft, an offensive heavy kind of draft? Just in a vacuum, do you see any major trends?
So I surprisingly see it 50-50. There's just so much talent on both sides of the ball when it comes to the first round of the draft. Personally, I'm more of a fan of the defense. You got players like Nicky Minwari, Mike Green, Abdul Carter, Will Johnson, Servon Revel, coming off the ACL, but dude was a beast in ECU, which ECU isn't the greatest college, but at the same time, it's you can't judge a player based off where they play. You just got to judge how they play the game.
And I completely agree with that. I'm trying to pull up the simulator here just so I can see all the players. There we go. And I do believe that we're going to see, personally me, I think a lot of teams are going to trade down.
Yes.
And during all of our mock drafts, which in later videos we will be doing mock drafts. It's just we don't know the full draft order just yet because the Super Bowl has yet to be played, and we want to make sure we provide a mock draft where it is 100% accurate as of time of recording. It just at this time we cannot do that, so we will provide a mock draft in the next video. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to pull up the teams here because I want to see all the players, and I think we're going to see a lot of movement across the board, and it's been very challenging for me to kind of think that teams are going to trade down because there's not a lot to trade up into for other teams because it's just all the assets and the draft capital, is very thin. And yeah, sure, teams will have seconds and thirds and fourth and fifths, but no team has two first round picks this year. And I think that is super crucial in terms of a team trading down. They want to obviously do a pick swap and they want an additional pick so they don't feel like they're getting fleeced or screwed. And all this conversation about whether it's the Patriots trading down, the Titans trading down, pick any team trading down into the first round again, I just don't see it happening unless they're going to get a haul of future first round picks.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of where I stand on it. But as we get closer and closer and closer, things could happen. Outside trades could happen for players. Team gets desperate. Maybe the draft board doesn't fall the way they want it, so they pivot and make a change. Now, obviously, like I said, sent you some questions, and we'll get into that in a bit. Do you think, sitting right now on February 2nd, do you think between now and April, I have no idea when the draft is, I just know it's at the end, do you think this draft order is going to stay the same? Obviously, once we figure out the Eagles and Chiefs situation.
I think,
Come day one, at least.
Day one, I think it'll be the same.
Okay.
I do think there will be one trade, and, I mean, I'm not sure if you want me to say that now.
We'll wait.
Okay.
A little cliffhanger.
It's just some of these teams, especially a few of them, like, these teams will be in the trade I'm mentioning, but the Vikings don't have many picks outside their first round.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams, a few years ago, they traded every single pick pretty much to get the Super Bowl ring. Got it. Rebuilt their whole team pretty much. And I was looking at their team, and it's like they have their first, and then the next pick isn't until, I want to say, like 97.
Is it the Vikings?
The Rams.
The Rams.
And it's just, those are the two teams where it's like, yeah, they're good now, and they have good teams, decent capital, but you kind of need more, especially in this draft. I think it's a very talented draft. So if you can get as many picks, or not as many picks, but as many picks as you can,
Mm-hmm.
I think those are the two teams I should trade down.
So you mentioned talent, and I think this draft is very top-heavy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it is very deep at all. Now, I think edge is very deep. I think that's probably the deepest position on the board for this draft class. I think quarterback's super thin. You can still find value in the second, third round, day 3. You can still find value at wide receiver, but just there's no Jamar Chases, there's no Justin Jeffersons, and besides a couple of the top guys who I even still have questions at certain positions, quarterback and receiver specifically, it's going to be hard for me to kind of think that a team can trade down and still find value. Mm-hmm. And I'll kind of give you an example here is that, everybody wants the Patriots to trade down. And I'm sure there's other teams, fan bases that want them to trade down, get more draft capital, get more assets, get the player later on, whatever. And not only I don't trust the Patriots drafting abilities, I just don't see, all right, you're at 4. You're either going to get Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter at 4, because we'll get into this, but we're going to see the Browns or the Giants most likely take a quarterback. At the very least, you're going to get a Mason Graham, McMillan, Ashton Genty if you freaking want to. So there is so much talent at the top of the board, and if the Patriots trade down, it's like, all right, you're giving up on multiple generational talents for what? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me when the Patriots have the draft capital already. So I guess my question would be to you is, do you think that we're going to see a lot of maybe prospects, players through the combine, through pro days, and obviously workouts between now and the draft kind of climb and rise? Obviously, we've already seen that with a handful of people, but in hindsight, we're also seeing players drop too.
Oh, 100%. That's what the combine is. It's just a rise your stock, or how you play, drop your stock. We've seen it a few years ago, a bad player or decent player in college can be a second overall pick. Looking at you, Zach Wilson.
Don't get me started on Zachy boy.
Players like that. I think Will Levis put on a decent combine as well, and that's why he still went second overall in the second round.
Who's this? Levis?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
He was projected to go top 4 when the Colts are picking, or top 3. I forgot when they picked. But it's 100%. Now, who will do that? I don't know. I probably, when it comes to quarterbacks, Milroe, Howard, Dart, obviously Shadur Sanders and
Jalen. Say that one more time. Jalen who? Milroe?
Jalen Milroe. We'll get into him later.
Yeah.
I have some things about Jalen Milroe.
Okay.
But a lot of the quarterback. I feel like it's more of a quarterback favorable thing, because especially in the passing drill where they're just hitting wide open guys deep, and it's, for some reason
I could do that.
For some reason, GMs are in love with that. You can throw a deep ball. And then it's the worst deep ball when it comes to the actual game. And it's what if we do that? I just lost my job.
Yep. And that's why I think, the quarterback specifically this year, but obviously in years past, Zach Wilson, I think they get overrated so quick because GMs are just so quarterback desperate. They want to save their jobs, things we've talked about before. And I'm super happy that we're doing this because the stuff that we're talking about before, we can talk about here, we can share our thoughts and stuff like that, because the NFL draft is extremely important, not just for football teams, but also for the hobby as well, because it's such a quarterback-centric hobby. Whoever Shadur Sanders goes to, whoever Cam Ward goes to, whether Will Levis. Wow. Will Howard, Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart. All these quarterbacks are going to be quarterbacks that we're going to be buying, this time in next year or, earlier in the fall because everybody wants rookie quarterbacks, whether it's Michael Penix, who's sitting on the bench, J.J. McCarthy, who has a torn whatever, or maybe it's even a Bryce Young, who sucked last year, but now he's good this year. So there's just so many different variables that go into it. And I just think that the quarterback position, I'm happy it's thin this year because 2022, it was awfully thin. Yeah. And we saw that with Kenny Pickett being the only quarterback in the first round, everyone else falling. I think we'll see something similar to that. I think the quarterbacks this year are a lot better than the quarterbacks in 2022. But even though I don't like the quarterbacks this year, but it's still better. All right. We got some questions.
Okay, here we go.
And we're going to dive into it. Now, I'm just trying to think of the first one we can do. So all these questions have 3, but we're going to go back and forth. We're going to do one at a time.
Right.
So give me 3 teams. So obviously start with 1 that needs to win draft night. Now, just to clarify, winning draft night, that could be making trades to get more assets for future days. That could be moving up on the board to get, the player that they deem is the generational talent or their number 1 player. It could be a team who maybe takes a pick and then moves back into the first round. Super open-ended, but who needs to win? Keep your bias aside. Obviously, being a Packers fan, I'm a Pats fan. Let's try to, if that's a team that's on your list, just make sure you have good reasons to back it up. Give me a team that needs to win draft night.
So this team, first one, needs to win draft night.
Just first round, guys. Just first round.
Needs to win draft night because Mr. Brian Daboll and Joe Shane are on the very, very hot seat.
Oh, yeah.
They got a
toasty
hat
seat
under there.
Yep.
The Giants.
Okay.
The Giants absolutely need to win the draft. Even if it is, I know you said just the first round.
Yeah.
But just the draft in general.
Mm-hmm.
If they want to keep their job for the future, got to get your quarterback.
So you're just assuming that it's Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. Just throw it, stick and pick.
That's not what I would do as the Giants GM. But in their head, it's, oh my God, we need someone who can, we can plug in, win now. Not gonna happen, but it's
could try.
They could try. But I definitely think the Giants, like I said, it's just they're on the hot seat. They're probably scrambling. What are we gonna do? How are we gonna win this draft? How are we gonna keep our jobs?
Yeah.
I think a big part of it is going to play in the free agency.
They shouldn't even have jobs to begin with.
Whatever. I like Daboll, but
yeah.
A big part of it is going to play in free agency. Although they're gonna call the free agent and be like, "Hey, this is the Giants," and the guy's gonna hang up.
Yep.
Because who wants to play in New York?
I completely agree that they have to save their jobs, and this is why GMs just overreach and take quarterbacks, because I don't think Browns are in the situation, the Titans are in the situation. I'm just looking at the thing. The Raiders are in the situation. None of these quarterbacks should be first-round guys. Maybe back into the first round because through our mocks, I love, the 5th-round option so teams could trade back in. But I just don't think any of these quarterbacks have first-round grades personally, and this is where teams lose years on their franchise because they're taking a quarterback with the 3rd overall pick. They are bust in 3 years, and then they just wasted 3 years, and they got to hit the reset button. So it's going to be very challenging. My team, one of my teams that needs to win draft night, that's the Tennessee Titans. Stupid obvious, being the number 1 overall pick, but you have to win with that pick.
Yes.
Whether you stick and pick, whether you trade back into the first round with 33, the second pick in the first pick in the second round. I don't care if you take a quarterback, Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter. You need to get that pick correct. That is the biggest thing and the only thing that should matter. Let everything else fall. Again, whether you're trading, sticking, picking, moving back in, you need to win with that number 1 pick. I don't care who you take, win. Who's your second team?
Second team, Cincinnati Bengals. Now, here's why.
Defense.
Exactly.
Defense.
Well, there's multiple things on this one. They have to draft especially well.
Okay.
And because they got to re-sign T. Higgins. Got to re-sign Trey Hendrickson. And I'm pretty sure, no, because he'd be talking about more. Jamar Chase is a free agent next year. You got to pay those 3 guys. You can't do it. You can't. So you got to win now. Joe Burrow just put up an MVP. I know he's not going to win the MVP because he didn't make the playoffs. But in my opinion, if he was in the playoffs, Joe Burrow's MVP. And you wasted an MVP year because your defense stunk.
Absolutely. And again, what do you do with that pick? Do you try to move up further to get a guy that's falling? Let's just say a Mason Graham or a Mykal Williams falls to 12, 13. Do you make a move there? I mean, there's so many questions. Or do you trade down because, players that you thought were already going to be gone are now starting to fall. So, I mean, it's very tough.
Me, with that one, if I'm Cincy, I either stick and pick or I trade down. I don't think.
See, this is the whole trade down question. I mean, trade down for what, though? Like, just more capital?
I'd say try and pick up maybe a second or third. This defensive class is not crazy deep, but it definitely is deep with a few names that we'll get into later. But there's a few players that I know will fall to them because yes.
Okay,
I know.
Okay, Shefty. Okay.
Yeah, I got my sources back there. Ready.
Yep.
But no, it's just they have a decent amount of picks. You gotta rebuild that defense now. You
Absolutely.
have to, and even pick a receiver because unless T. Higgins is honest, what he says is, "Hey, I'm gonna take a team-friendly contract to stay."
Yeah, $27 million team friendly.
he's gonna be gone.
Yeah,
I think he is gonna be gone. So I mean, they have Jamar Chase and Joe Schmo down the street.
And I feel like free agency, I mean, we were talking about this a bunch already, is, free agency is really going to determine this because let's say the Bengals do re-sign T. Higgins. They do bring back Trey Hendrickson. Maybe the Patriots sign T. Higgins. So now, the McMillan conversation's off the board. There's just so much that will unfold as we go into March and then as we go into early April because we're going to see free agents sign. And, that's just a lot of variables that we just don't know yet. And I think that's the glory of these discussions that we're going to have because we can go from having a huge broad idea of not knowing what the hell is going to happen and how it's going to transpire to the pieces slowly falling. Let's say the Titans make a splash and they bring in a T. Higgins. All right, well, they're loading up their offense and maybe they're going to bring in a quarterback. Maybe they're going to draft a quarterback. You could say the same thing about the Patriots. You could say the same thing about the Jags. All these wide receiver needy teams, really. Moving in my second team, Jacksonville Jaguars. They need to win the draft because they're at number 5. They don't have the luxury of, all right, Travis Hunter or I can't think of his name. Abdul Carter is going to fall to us. Chances are probably not. They don't need a quarterback, so they don't have to worry about that. So you can't mess that up. But do you get a lineman to protect Trevor Lawrence? That was an issue. Do you bring in a receiver so he can throw the ball to that receiver? Or do you bring in a defensive guy because your defense sucked last year? So there's so many different problems and holes on the team. And again, let's say Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter goes 1. Do you trade to 2 to get the other guy so you don't have to worry about it and try to jump the Patriots who probably will take the other of the 2? Do you trade down to get more capital? It's just you have a franchise quarterback who just came off an injury. You've already paid the guy. You fired your coach, brought in a goon as your new coach, and you have a lot of holes on the team to fill. They need a win draft night.
I 100% agree. I really do.
Third team.
And, in Jerry Jones's favor, because, yes, it is the Cowboys. He is no longer the stupidest management in Dallas after what just happened last night.
Yeah, that's
But
we're recording this on the wake of the Luka Doncic trade to the Los Angeles Lakers. Very, very questionable. But yeah, Jerry Jones is off the hook now.
Yeah, he's off the hook for now.
Clean bill.
Here's what I think with the Cowboys. The Cowboys got to go offense. Their defense is fine. I understand they had a drop off last year.
Yeah.
Whole team did. What's his name? God damn it, the guy from the Commanders coach.
Dan Quinn.
Yep. He's no longer the DC over there, so the defense is getting rocky, but it's going to take some time to readjust.
Figure things out.
They have Matt Eberflus now as their defensive coordinator.
I believe so.
A lot of people don't like it, but the Bears defense is always, as someone who's watched the Bears twice a year.
The Bears.
They always had a not stellar defense, but always a top defense.
Yep.
So if Matt Eberflus can go in there with Trayvon Diggs, Darren Bland, Michael Parsons, maybe add a piece in the draft, I wouldn't because that offense stinks.
You
got Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Brandon Cooks with a Walker.
Rico Dowdle.
You gotta take offense because if CeeDee, God forbid, CeeDee goes down, who is Dak throwing to?
We saw that this year, the last couple weeks of the season. He was throwing to nobody. Dak wasn't throwing. Cooper Rush was throwing to nobody.
That's why you got to get a guy like Luther Burden, which I know Luther Burden, a lot of people are, he didn't have a great year. He was playing with Brady Cook. And whoever the backup was, because Brady Cook got hurt.
What was wrong with Brady Cook?
Let him cook. No, please, take the pot away.
Oh, God. All right. The next team I feel needs to win. I like that. Cowboys outside of the top 10. It's a big team. Obviously, high expectations. I'm gonna be super boring again, and I'm gonna stick within the top 10. I'm gonna pick the Jets.
I like that.
A lot of questions, and I think these questions will get answered as time goes on. Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams. I don't even know. Did they name a head coach? I think they did. I couldn't even tell you who it is.
Aaron Glenn.
That's right. Yeah, who gave up 50 or 40 something to the Commanders. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just there's going to be so many questions that can unfold. If Rodgers comes back and Devontae Adams come back, I feel like that's less questions, and I feel like they're less of an issue, less of a team that needs to win the first round. If Aaron Rodgers is gone, Devontae Adams is gone, now you're opening up a hole at quarterback, opening up a hole at wide receiver, plus your other holes on defense and, of course, on the offensive line. So maybe this is more of a team that needs to win the draft if Aaron Rodgers doesn't come back. But if he does, I feel like they're in a little bit better of a spot to trade down maybe because they have the pieces. They just weren't healthy. They just couldn't figure it out. There was turmoil, whatever the case may be. I think the Jets at 7 are in a great spot. I don't think they need to trade up or anything because I think that would be a little foolish to use that extra capital in the later rounds to address other issues. But I think Aaron Rodgers is definitely going to kind of sway what the Jets do. So those are my 3 teams. Those are your 3 teams. And I feel like when we have these conversations in future videos, it's going to change because, again, free agency is going to happen. Maybe, a certain player pops up that we like, or maybe a team throws out, hey, we want to go all offense in this draft. Okay, so now we react to it. Hector, give me 3 prospects that we should be talking about.
All right. So
we'll go one at a time.
I spoiled a little bit earlier.
Who is it?
Mike Green.
Mike Green.
Mike Green is a dominant force.
Dominant. So for those that don't know him, just kind of who is he? What position? Where's he from?
He's an edge rusher from Marshall, which I understand. People are going to be like, ew, Marshall. Let's go back a few years.
1, 2, 3, 4. He's the 5th edge rusher.
Fifth edge rusher, but by the time the draft comes by, I think he'll be top 3.
Okay.
But yeah, everyone's probably gonna be like, ew, Marshall, he didn't play nobody. Randy Moss didn't play nobody, and arguably the best receiver of all time.
Okay.
Led the league in tackles for loss with 22. Nation.
Yeah.
Whole nation, 22.5 tackles for losses. Led the nation in sacks, 17. Had I want to say 38 solo tackles. Can destroys the lineman with the ghost move. It's like this dude is in the Senior Bowl. He's going against these top prospects where all these linemen are like, oh, should we take him with the first pick? Should we take him high in the second? And he's just bulldozing him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll be a player, like I said, from Marshall. People are going to discredit that, but I think you can easily put that away with looking at Randy Moss. Completely different positions.
Yeah,
but
yeah. It's funny you mentioned the whole Marshall thing because I'm such a huge proponent of who you play against, especially at the quarterback position, wide receiver position, cornerback position, like your main positions. I mean, again, people got all hot and bothered over Zach Wilson. Oh, look how good he can throw the deep ball. But the dude sucked. He played at BYU, and no one can tell me a damn team that he played against. Trey Lance, same thing in North Dakota State. Mm-hmm. So, like, there is a level of who you do play. But when you're going up against other future draftees, future first-round picks, at the Senior Bowl, and you're able to still perform at a high dominant level, something has to have translated from what you're doing at Marshall to the Senior Bowl, and then what you're eventually going to see going into workouts, pro day, combine.
Exactly, because I was late round grade on him, or late first round grade on him, but then I'm watching the Senior Bowl, and he's going against like Ahmad Membu from Mizzou, who is arguably a first round pick. And he just, Ahmad Membu and just, all the linemen, he's just bullying them. Yeah, they won a few times, but that's what linemen are supposed to do. But he's just bullying them.
Yeah.
Like, it was not even close. And it's like, he's going to be, I think he's a top 15 pick.
Top 15,
I think he's
very
top
high
I know
words.
it's a reach. It could be a reach for a lot of people, but in the edge rushing class, there's a good line from, I want to say, the Saints, Bears, Niners, and kind of even the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Where
Micah's walking.
Micah's either walking. The thing is with Micah is who else is there to help him on the D-line?
Agreed.
So it's like you pair up Mike Green, even if it is just for 1 year, you pair up Mike Green on that D-line with him. It's like I think it could work.
I couldn't agree more.
I wouldn't go edge rush with the Cowboys pick because you guys need so many other positions. But if they did, I wouldn't hate it.
It could work.
Yes.
It's not like they're taking. I'm trying to think of a position that they're pretty stacked on. I guess I can't think because they don't have that. I guess corner. Yeah, it's not like they're taking a corner there. The fun thing about how we're going to be doing this over and over again is again we're talking about Mike Green. I'm going to talk about Malachi Starks in a second. Ooh. It's like I love Malachi Starks even though he's a Georgia Bulldog and I hate Georgia, but bias aside, I'm trying to be very unbiased here and very open-minded. Whereas he's a good player, but good players are going to kind of pop up. Mike Green, perfect example. When we were doing this a month ago, we weren't even talking Mike Green. But now we do research, we're watching film, we're trying to bring awareness to you guys because the draft is so important. And especially when we start talking more about the offense and quarterbacks, I think that's where it's really going to kind of, the juice of the meat and potatoes is really going to sink in, because people oftentimes will come here to the shop, oh, I don't watch college, I don't know college. Watch this video, watch the videos that we're going to be making leading up to the draft, and you will understand college football. So you can go into the draft well prepared with a general idea. Obviously, do your own extensive research if you wish. Open up some Bowman product, which I believe is better than the Panini product. That is just my opinion.
I can agree.
I digress, though. Let me talk about Malachi Starks. We're seeing Brian Branch turn into arguably one of the best safeties in all of football. We've seen Minkah Fitzpatrick turn into arguably the best safety in all of football. We've seen Derwin James, even though he was a high pick, turn into arguably the best safety in football. Xavier McKinney. Seems like Alabama produces some pretty good safety besides Derwin James, but Florida State. I think Malachi Starks is the next in line of that. He's a safety who can cover deep as the cover one. He's also a safety that can get up on the line, be in the box. He can take that sub linebacker role. He can guard tight ends. He can guard running backs out of the backfield. He's got the speed. He's got the size. Again, Brian Branch he screams Brian Branch as a comparison. Slot corner, sub linebacker, deep cover one safety, whatever you really want him to do. If you want to go in 3 safety looks, he could play anywhere from the left, top, or right. And I think Georgia's defense has really been able to excel by having a player like him. And again, Brian Branch for a the perfect comparison. We saw the Lions defense, who really struggled with a lot of defense, specifically secondary, and they still had their cornerback issues, but their safety issues were seemingly resolved with Brian Branch. So Malachi Starks, who could go anywhere from 5, should not leave the top 10, but anywhere between 5 and 15, I think is where he's going to go, especially where Brian Branch went in the second round. 2 years ago, seemingly. I know McKinney was a first round, Derwin James first round, Minkah Fitzpatrick first round. I guess a really good comparison a while back was Jabril Peppers. I feel like there's a lot of similarities there too, from Peppers as a prospect who was a first round pick, I believe, or
I think he was like back into the first.
Yeah, so late first, early second, whatever it may be. A lot of similarities there, and I'm very excited to see where he goes, even though I do not like the Georgia Bulldogs. Any comments on Malachi Starks? I talk about him all the time, but I just think he's just a great prospect.
I think Malachi Starks is a fantastic safety. I think he'll be, depending on where he goes, how he's used, he'll just be what he was in Georgia.
That's it.
I think he is the 1A of the draft class, though, when it comes to safeties.
Oh, is the 1B the next player that you're going to talk about?
It is.
Okay, who is it?
Nick Eamon-Ward from South Carolina.
That's a good one. So who is he? Why should we be paying attention to him?
Because this dude moves around the field like he is the Flash. Not because he's crazy fast, but this dude, he's 6'3", 230, which is not bad, but you don't think the fastest, but he moves like he's way lighter.
Kyle Hamilton. That's another one I forgot about to kind of lump in there. Sorry, keep going.
No, you're fine. No, this dude moves around the field like it's the same thing with Malachi Starks. He can play the whole backfield, the whole thing. Moves crazy fast. Had six total interceptions, 4 last all year, which I know the South Carolina defense was not arguably the best, but they are really good.
Yeah.
And this dude flies around.
SEC, baby. Got to be good in the SEC.
No, I mean, they win the national championship.
Relax.
But he had 4 picks his senior year. 2 of them housed him. And he reminds you a lot of like the older safeties, like Ed Reed, which I know Ed Reed played more of a, hey, I'm going to take your head off. But he played when that ball's in his hand.
Yeah.
He doesn't see the offense or the defense. Sees the end zone. This dude, his eyes track to the end zone. And the speed, the fact that he can fly around the defense, he's one of my favorite picks. And he's probably my favorite prospect, other than Genty. I'm a big Genty fan.
Yep.
But when it comes to ignoring him, I think Nick Eamon-Ward, other than Mike Green, is probably my favorite prospect. The dude, like I said, 6'3", he's 230, but moves like he's, I want to say 200. He can play, he's a fantastic corner, but if you need go play slot. Go do this.
The versatility.
Is fantastic.
Yeah, and I don't think you can go wrong with either him or Malachi Starks. I mean, obviously they're both SEC guys. Malachi Starks has, been to the playoffs. He's won. He's been part of a great team, obviously. And I think we're seeing a lot of Devin Witherspoon and Christian Gonzalez. Who do you take first? You can't go wrong. Seahawks went Witherspoon, Pats went Gonzalez a couple years ago. But like similar to that, 1A, 1B, there's no wrong answer. You know, take who you think just fits your scheme a little bit better. And I think that's how we're going to see, those two safeties fall.
Personally, I would take, like I said, I'm a huge Nick Moore fan. I would take Starks over him, just like you said. He has the playoff experience. Yeah. He's played a lot tougher opponents.
Yep. And that's got to mean something.
Yeah.
That has to mean something when you're going through this process.
I know that kind of throws off my Mike Green debate when him playing Marshall.
That is true.
But I think coverage is much different. Obviously, much different than edge rush.
Yeah.
So, like I said, who did Malachi Starks had to cover? Everybody. At one point, Ryan Williams.
Yep. Ooh, roll tide, man. Yeah, he's going to be – we're going to talk about him being a top 5 pick, top 3 pick in not next year but 2 years from now.
Top 3, I'd say top 2.
Jeremiah Smith. Oh, man, that draft's going to be so good in 2 years.
I'm not even sure who the next draft is.
I could care less. All right. So this is a player that I'm not the biggest fan of, but is somebody that we should still talk about because he's the best wide receiver in the class, and that is Tet McMillan. Otherwise, I'm gonna butcher this. Tetaroa. I always butcher it. Tetaroa McMillan. Receiver Arizona, he's arguably, if not the best wide receiver in the class. Now, stats, very good. I don't want to say it's easy, but stats in college, it's hard to take. You got to take it with a grain of salt because, again, you could play Division II wherever, and if you put up 20 touchdowns, of course, you lead the country in touchdowns. But, again, who are you going up against? Now, obviously, McMillan, Arizona, they're no longer part of the Pac-12. What are they, part of the Big 12? I don't even know what conference. I couldn't even tell you what conference they're in anymore.
Yeah,
Does it say in his report?
Probably. The worst thing is, because I'm just getting into college, not just getting into it, but kind of like, for the last few years, and I just learned the conferences.
Arizona.
And right when I learned them, they switched.
They blew it up.
And I was like,
football.
okay, never mind.
Man, they are in the Big 12. Okay, so Big 12. Okay, so obviously Power 4 conference. My thing with McMillan is he has Noah Fafita throwing him the ball, who's a great young prospect who will develop. And obviously he looked good this year. It's just my thing is McMillan just doesn't scream top 5 pick. And that's kind of where he's projected to fall in a lot of mocks, whether it's the Jags or the Patriots. I mean, you could even talk to him, Raiders, the Jets, the teams after. When we looked at Jamar Chase, we either knew that the Bengals were going to take him at 5, or he was going to go to the Dolphins at 6, or he was going to go to whoever, whenever he fell. And when you look at a guy like, I'm trying to think of another top
Marvin Harrison?
Yes, Marvin Harrison. We knew, all right, the Patriots don't take a quarterback at 3. They're going to take Marvin Harrison. Mm-hmm. And what do? They take the quarterback, and then he goes to number 4 at Arizona. Because these guys are generational wide receiver talents. And McMillan is, yes, in his own way, but it's hard to put him in that category of Marv, to put him in the category of Jamar. You can even put Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, who, went like a few picks later. So he will be the first wide receiver off the board. I'm not including Travis Hunter because obviously he does the bull thing, and I'm leaning more towards the cornerback route for him.
100% agree.
Is he a first-round guy? Yes, of course. Is he a top 10 guy? He will. I don't think he should be, but I'm not saying he should be the 28th pick in the draft. I'm thinking 8 to 13 is kind of where I would peg him personally. And I'm kind of negatively speaking about him, but this isn't a question where we talk positive about these players. Yeah. And this isn't a video where we're just going to talk all yay. We have to be realistic and we have to give our honest thoughts. And if I'm not a fan of a player, I'm going to let you guys know about it. So, those are my fairly negative opinions about him. I still love the kid, and I hope he goes as high as he possibly can. I want to be proved wrong when I give negative or bad, takes. But, how do you feel about me kind of being pessimistic about McMillan?
I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. Yeah, you put up great numbers with that young prospect over there in Arizona. Mm-hmm. But it's just is he better than Burden? Is he better than Egbuka? Is he better than the guy I'm about to mention? It's a little spoilers.
Okay, don't go into it yet.
But it's just I think he will be good. Now, I think, is he going to be worth a top 10 pick? Depends on where he goes. My personal favorite fit, New England. I want to see. I'm sorry, I know that's not what you want, but it's I want to see the Drake May and McMillan connection because if not him, who else?
I'm good.
Pop Douglas or maybe Keyshawn Booty.
Yeah.
That's a connection I've been wanting to see, but Jacksonville, pair him up with BTJ. BTJ.
Yep.
Let's see. I guess
Let him be the number 2 because whoever the Patriots bring in at whether it's a receiver at 4, whether it's him, Burden, Agbuka, Travis Hunter, doesn't matter, or a wide receiver on free agency, they're going to have to be the number 1.
Yeah.
But if you could put McMillan, a guy with some questions, but a player you can help grow your franchise quarterback because you address these other needs in free agency, that's the perfect fit right there. Because we already know what Brian Thomas is. We don't really know what McMillan is. So if he struggles out of the gate, it's okay. Whereas if you take him at 4 for the Patriots and he struggles out of the gate, there's going to be a lot of questions.
I mean, it doesn't hurt to take McMillan and also pick up a guy like, if you're going, like, all right, if you're in the front office and you're hey, we're taking McMillan, if you take a guy like Chris Godwin, or let's see, who else is there? Stephon Diggs?
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't hate it.
You got to pair him up.
Because it's like, look at teams like, let's see, the Eagles. I know they took Smitty first, but
they traded for A.J. Brown.
And look, they're in the Super Bowl. They're hopefully going to win. I don't want to say they're going to because I don't want to jinx them.
Fingers crossed.
Like having those having 2 guys like that isn't such a bad thing, and that's why I think the Patriots should take them. Now, if in a magic world, or Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter falls, pick up that phone and call them. But other than them, I'm not taking a lineman at 4. The class is too deep. I know everyone's probably saying, "Oh, Will Campbell's good." Yeah,
sure,
dude's good. Not 4th overall good.
Yeah.
Now, if the Patriots are locked in on Will Campbell, that's when I pick up the phone and like, "Hey, let's trade down." I know you're not a huge fan of, but
not for the Pats.
It's just I'm not taking Campbell at 4.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
So who's this receiver that you? Who's I guess your 3rd player that we should be talking about?
Iowa State receiver Jaden Higgins.
Wow, definitely not who I was expecting. I was expecting you to say Matthew Golden because I alluded to him. Okay, well the other night. Okay, so talk to where is he from?
Usually, so I've been trying not to read off this thing, but with how much I have about this kid,
that's
because
fair.
I've had to do so much research.
Okay,
he's my favorite.
He's your favorite.
6'4".
Yep.
215.
Okay.
Pretty good size and weight. He had this. I'm gonna talk about his junior year real quick because he had 900 yards, which I know isn't a lot. Obviously, he did better. He averaged 18.5 yards a catch. 18.5 yards. That's almost 2 first downs, which I know is not crazy, but almost 20 yards per catch in your junior year.
Not too bad.
This year, 87 receptions, 1,183 yards, 9 touchdowns, 13.6 yards per catch. I know it's college, so going into the NFL, you're gonna play much tougher opponents. But you can't knock that down. Yeah. I mean, you're averaging a first down per catch. He's very versatile. He plays 71% on the boundary, which, on the outside. But he played 29% in the slot, which I know is like, that's a big difference. When it comes to the receivers, a lot of them are more of like a 85-90% one place, and they'll play somewhere else if they have to.
Different formations, different matchups,
but the fact
whatever.
That he's playing a lot of these in either the slot or the boundary. He can play both very well.
Mm-hmm.
What I call eye candy. This dude is
eye candy. I like that. Does he slide into the first round or no?
I think. All right, I think it's gonna be like last year. If a team wants him badly, trade up in like the 30 or 31st pick, grab him. I think he's a 2nd round talent. But if he was taken in the first, would I hate it? Absolutely not.
Because we saw like Xavier Worthy, Lad McConkey, Jalen Polk. There's other guys too, but tons of guys late first, early second, and could we see another run of receivers where we see, whether it's him, Taz Johnson, Isaiah Bond, Restrepo, Trey Harris? Probably. Yeah. And, I wouldn't be surprised about it because, that's past couple of years seems like it's a good spot to kind of take your future number 2 or your current number 2. Maybe it's your future number 1.
Mm-hmm. I know I'm not trying to talk too much about him, but a very comparable person, his comp is Drake London. And the reason they're doing they comp him is because
London.
He moves his body very well.
Yeah,
he had a lot of the over the shoulder balls, moved his body perfectly. He had I think a 56% win rate or no contested catch.
Mm-hmm.
The 50-50 balls.
These numbers.
Corner shouldn't even try because he's gonna win them either way. I understand it's Iowa State, so it's like he played decent teams.
Power conference though.
Power conference. It's just is he a first round talent in my eyes? Yes. I think he's late first round talent.
I like that.
If you want to get that 5th year option, trade for him.
Now you're talking my language. 5th year option. I love that.
Like Dallas, I think he fits perfectly in Dallas because CeeDee Lamb, he's a slot route runner guy. He can take the top off if you wanted to.
Yep.
But you gotta have someone constantly in the slot or the boundary.
Yeah.
It can't be Brandon Cooks. That's where I think. That's why I think Genty's climbing up the board. Not climbing up the board. Who's gonna take him? If Dallas can take Genty and then Higgins in the 2nd, they win the draft. they win the draft on those 2 picks, in my opinion.
All right, so my last player that we should be talking about might be contradictory to when we get into players we're talking too much about. Spoiler alert, we're going to be getting into a little bit of, hey, we shouldn't be talking about this guy or these guys all too much. But I think this is a position. I know I'm changing the rules here. I make them and I change them. Position that we should be talking about, and that's the quarterback position. Super basic, I know. Oh my God, Murph, talking about quarterbacks. Oh, you don't like them. I know I don't like the quarterback class. But this hobby, like I mentioned at the top of the video, is so quarterback centric. So what I want to kind of mention here, and I'll make this point quick, is do your research on these quarterbacks and figure out who you like and why you like them. And maybe even figure out who you don't like. I don't like Cam Ward. I don't like Shedeur Sanders. I've said that several times, and I can give you the reasons why, if you want this video to be 4 hours long. But again, whether it's Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers, Riley Leonard, Will Howard, Cam Ward, or Shedeur Sanders, anyone in between outside that, doesn't matter. Watch the guys, know the guys, and like the guys. And you'll be like, all right, I can't wait for Jackson Dart to get drafted. Whoever, it doesn't matter who it is. Just educate yourself on these quarterbacks and talk about them because they are the future. These are going to be the future players that we're opening boxes to find their rookie cards of. So have some kind of, idea of who they are and what kind of player and what kind of quarterback they are at the college level, then obviously going into the draft. And then when we're talking about rookie cards in the fall next year, we already kind of have an idea of who we're looking for before they even play a single snap. I'm keeping my point super simple. Quarterbacks.
Just all together? Or?
Just kind of lump them all together. Because I want it for the health of the hobby, so to speak, to kind of twist it back to obviously trading cards. Because how many people going into August last year really knew who Michael Penix was? How many people?
Unless you loved college.
How many people knew who J.J. McCarthy was when he threw 11 times in the title game? You probably only knew that because of that stat. Yeah. How many people really knew? I can't even think of quote. Jaden Daniels. Before draft night, when he went 2 overall, how many people really watched Jaden Daniels play? Not many people.
Well, I feel like that's a good point, although I'd switch Daniels with Drake May.
Pick anybody.
Because only reason I would say that is because, Daniels,
how many people knew Bo Nix before draft night? Everyone knew Caleb Williams because of the Heisman.
Yeah.
And the controversy with the pink nails and the lip gloss and the phone case. Everyone knew who he was. But again, if anybody watched the LSU-Alabama game 2 years ago where Jaden Daniels was tearing up Bama's defense, whether it was passing it to Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, or running the ball, then he gets injured. That's when the whole game changed. That's when you knew he was a first-round guy. Yeah. And I'm not telling everyone to be Mel Kipers and Todd McShays and watch all these quarterbacks, but just have an idea who they are, get a feel for them. So when they get picked, whenever they get picked, first round, second round, third round, Jalen Milroe, he went to Alabama. He looked good. He kind of felt whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Quinn Ewers. Oh, wow. Yeah, Texas. They went to the Final Four. And, Arch Manning was kind of a thorn in his ass. That kind of stuff. Just kind of have a general idea. Because, again, how many people, when Jalen Hurts got drafted in 2020, knew who he was?
Not many people.
Not many people at all. So that's my point right there. All right. Here's our last and final question. I know, my God, my microphone is through the roof right now because I just got all excited. Final question. 3 prospects, that we're talking too much about. Who do we need to stop talking about? Seriously.
So, I'm very happy you did the quarterback thing because I'm also doing the quarterback thing.
I'm going to be circling back to this wagon too, so I'm happy to hear who you're bringing up.
And he's a very likable player. Huge fan of him. I want him to do great.
Yeah.
Jalen Milroe.
All right, here we go.
Here's my issue with Jalen Milroe.
That's a Tua jersey, but roll tide.
Yeah. He's a lot of people I saw. So not a lot of people. I saw someone compare him to Anthony Richardson, where project wise.
Didn't like that at all.
Someone was like, "Oh, he's a project. You can work." Here's the difference. Anthony Richardson is 6'5", almost 6'6", has a cannon of an arm, and pretty much can run through everyone like prime Cam Newton. Jalen Milroe, his issue is, he can run the ball. Passing, I'm not a huge fan of. Because going back and watching film, because I watched Jalen Milroe during the game, so I was like, all right, he looks good. But once I started looking at film, his big issue is when you take his first read away,
gone. He sucks.
Nothing else.
Yep. He just books it.
So a lot of teams didn't realize that. Once they started catching on, you notice he was digressing.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the NFL teams were like, oh well, if I don't want to draft him, and the first read's gone, and he just doesn't know what to do with the ball.
Just goes, yeah.
And you can't do that as a quarterback in the NFL. Now, can he change that? Yeah. Like I said, I'm a huge Miller fan. I want him to succeed. But I think it's just, and especially how bad he's doing the Senior Bowl. And I know it's like, dude, there was one play where he fumbles a snap, picks it up, runs, and immediately throws it right to the linebacker. And I'm like, okay, you just tanked their thing like 2 rounds.
Yeah, he's probably a 4th-round guy now.
And it's just like I said, I'm going to keep saying it. I love Milrow.
Please. Hold on, one more time. Hold on.
3 times, you
okay.
know.
All right. I'm greedy.
But it's just like, I want a team, well, I've said it before, just personally to you, I want a team like the Rams to take him. Where I know that's not the scheme fit, but I think McVay's a smart offensive mind. He can probably switch his scheme up.
Figure it out.
If he can sit behind Stafford for a year. Or even just another team where...
Someone where there's already a quarterback kind of on the way out.
The Jets, I'm not saying 7.
Whoa.
Why not? If Aaron comes back, like I'm hearing that he might, because I guess him and Aaron Glenn had a great conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Draft Miller will sit behind him. I know he's not the type of quarterback for him to learn behind, but Jordan Love, as a Packer fan, when we drafted him, hated the pick. Hated it. Dude was a bum. Jordan Love, if you see this, I love you now. I'm not going to lie.
Did you watch that Utah State film? I don't know if you did.
I did not watch film back then, but he was not great. We saw it in his first game against Kansas City when Aaron, didn't want to take the vaccine and had to sit out for a game.
Yeah, but so like Jordan Love, though, that's a tough environment kind of getting thrown into, though.
Yeah.
Away game, good team.
Kansas City. He almost beat him.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, if anything, it was promising.
No, yeah.
What about this comparison? Because I love this comparison of Jalen Milrow. And again, who we're talking too much about as we're talking about him. Jalen Hurts. And now, as a Bama fan, I've seen both of them, and I think that this is a great fit. Power runner as a quarterback. Tons of design quarterback runs. Tough, strong, thick guy. Who first read's not there, they go. Second read's not there, they'll probably even go. But Jalen Hurts, when he went to Oklahoma, he developed more as a passer. Obviously, the running was still there, but he developed more as a passer. Now we see him with the Eagles. He's still a good runner. Mm-hmm. He's really dialed it back, and he's really thrown the ball a lot more. Yeah. And I'm hoping to kind of see, again, from college ball to up to the draft, I see almost the same player.
No, I definitely like the comparison. If Milrow can just work on his game.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm not saying he can be exactly like Hurts, but he could probably lead a team to the playoffs.
Okay.
Like I said, the Jets, the Rams, have him sit behind the guy. I'm sorry, if I'm Jalen Milrow and the Jets take me, I am excited.
Ugh.
I get to learn behind.
Absolutely not.
I get to learn behind arguably the most talented quarterback of all time.
That's the heat.
I get to learn behind arguably the most talented quarterback of all time. Not the greatest. I like Aaron, but clearly not the greatest. But when it comes to talent-wise, I mean, prime Aaron Rodgers was not someone you want to mess with. And it's one thing I liked about Aaron is I'm not a huge fan of him now because how the whole team thing is. But he had a documentary come out. I watch it. Not giving him any of my money and my viewership. But he talked about the whole Jordan Love situation, which I know we're off topic, and it was just he was like, hey, the kid. It's not the kid's fault. He was just taking here, so I'm gonna take him under my wing, and it's like that's where I gain more respect for him. Is that if he can do that with someone like Jalen Milrow, Jackson Dart, somebody,
I
think that quarterback can be great.
Yeah,
and like I said, I like Milrow.
I mean, look at Jordan Love now. I mean, I think sitting behind Rodgers, even if it was just a year, I think that would have been extremely important. 2 years, 3 years behind Aaron Rodgers. I mean,
and now he's arguably
one of the best quarterbacks,
top 12, top 10.
Yep.
I mean, he's hurt this year, so Sass doesn't look great, and he doesn't have really anyone to throw to. But I don't know, Devontae Adams.
So, to bring the ship back, player that we're talking too much about is very, very. I love the controversy. It really stirs the pot. It gets people all hot and bothered. Ashton Genty.
Ooh.
I know you love him.
Okay, no,
I'm a fan too.
I'm listening.
But my thing, and he looked decent against Penn State in the playoff game. And, of course, if you compare the amount of rushes and how Penn State was preparing and he was still able to, run 3.5 yards per carry and, it still got 100 yards when they knew that they were going to hand him the rock 1,000 times. Again, who did you play against outside of Penn State? And you played Oregon. That's fine. You played good. But it's just like you're going up against Middle North Dakota State Technical Institute, and they're blowing them out 70-10. So it's like, okay, you look great there, as you should. You're running for 300 yards. But how did you do against Penn State? And just in a vacuum, didn't look good. But when you peel back the curtain, you look at the stats a little further, and you kind of digest it a little bit more coherently, all right, not too bad. But my thing is we didn't get enough of that.
Yeah.
I still think he'll be a great running back. I still think he'll be really good. Where will he kind of land on the totem pole? Is he going to be a Derrick Henry-esque? Will he be a Saquon Barkley? Who knows? Who knows? But I just think we're talking way too much about him because I think we put way too much hype on him for maybe the stats he put up, not winning the Heisman, or maybe he was even he should have. I agree. Maybe people are just too caught up with how bad he looked against Penn State.
Yeah.
Whatever the reason is, I think we're talking too much about him because this draft is, I said it's thin in a lot of positions, but the first 5 running backs are pretty good. So if you're a team that's desperate for a running back, sure, take Ashton Genty. But again, do you want to take a running back in the first round? Yes, because we see what these previous first round running backs doing. Saquon, Derrick Henry, I mean, they're going crazy. Josh Jacobs, I mean, they're crazy.
Like, my thing with Genty, not to cut you off.
Please.
But obviously, I'm a huge fan, but I'm not. Like, when it comes to being a fan of things, especially the players, I am not biased. So, like, yeah, I'll say biased takes, but the Penn State game, and here's why I think he'd be great in the right. I think he'd be great in the NFL. Here's why. He didn't play great competition. But you watch that Penn State game, they had 9, almost 10 players in the box.
That's what I'm saying. You got to peel back the curtain and look at it like, deeper.
If you put especially let's say he goes to Dallas, right? If you put a 9-man box against Dallas, they're gonna beat you with CeeDee Lamb over the top.
Just play action, throw it to somebody else.
So it's like I don't think he's gonna have to deal with that. Now maybe if it's in the 5 or on the goal line, there's gonna be like big boxes.
Yeah.
But that's where I think Genty's gonna thrive.
I thought I heard something.
He's not gonna have to deal with the 8-9-man boxes anymore. And it's like, imagine being a running back trying to prove how good you are. And you have Penn State's defense, who I'm pretty sure was top 5 in the nation.
Yeah,
9-man box.
And that's why I think that game is so deceiving for people because people are just like, oh wow, they lost a non-power conference team, lost to a power conference team who always chokes. I'm drawing a blank on Drew Aller. Oh, Drew Aller beat him, and it's just like, yes, that's all true, but again. They handed the ball 30 times. He still was able to get 100 yards, 3.5 yards per carry, 9-man boxes. It's like the kid did everything he could do with a probably average offensive line at the very best in comparison to the country.
Yeah.
But my thing is how many teams, and we've done this exercise so many times, how many teams realistically right now as we record on February 2nd need a running back in the first round?
I'd say 3.
Broncos.
4.
Cowboys.
Minnesota.
Browns. But
my thing with Aaron Jones is obviously, I watched him for so many
go
years.
Pack, go!
Is one, he's getting old, which running
backs.
But
first round worthy when the Vikings need all this capital and they're gonna probably trade the pick.
If they can trade down and still get a court, obviously not getting Genty, not gonna happen.
Well, I'm talking about like Genty, like teams that are going to would take Genty. So like I think
if he fell to them, I think if I'm the Vikings, I do take him. Because it's like, here's my issue. I watched Aaron Jones most of his career, if not other than that 1 year. His main issue is he's stupid with the ball sometimes.
That is true.
And
I hate running backs who just like have it way out here when they run. Like LaShawn McCoy did that all the time.
I will say his ball, when he held the ball, he was fine. His issue is especially in the Niners game, did it multiple times. He would have a clear lane this way.
Yeah.
And he might catch me. Let me, for some reason, even though I know I'm faster than this random linebacker catching up to me, go around and try. And it's like,
just go straight.
Why are you doing that?
Just go straight.
I think if they can get Genty, and even if he does have to sit, with Aaron Jones for a year, even though I think Aaron Jones is actually a free agent because I think it was only a 1-year deal.
But my thing with that is so many people have Genty top 5, top 10. So even if the Vikings want to take a running back, I just don't see him falling because he's that great of a player.
That was more of just in a weird universe.
Exactly. And again, Broncos at 20, I still even think's a reach. I mean, now we have the Bears introduced as a player with Ben Johnson being the coach. So it's he might not even get to the Cowboys for all that we know. I mean, the Browns at 2. Are they really going to take Genty at 2 when they have other issues?
Yeah.
Maybe not. So again, he's going to go where he's going to go. And I think teams will maybe identify how great these running backs have been doing. So maybe that helps them, obviously Barkley and Derrick Henry specifically. But when there is a good half a dozen good running backs that you can get anywhere from day 1, 2, or 3, and you're the Browns at 2 or the Bears at 10, and you might think you have other needs. I mean, the Cowboys have tons of needs. Yeah. But if you mix in Genty into that Cowboys offense, he's going to look like Zeke his rookie year and just, he's going to go off and look good.
Mm-hmm.
You mix in Genty into the Browns offense, he's going to be the perfect blend of Nick Chubb and the best of, Christian McCaffrey almost with what he's able to do with the ball. But again, is running back really going to be the need for them? So I just think we're talking about this a little too dense. I think he'll be great for the hobby. I really do, because of the excitement that he was able to bring. I think non-quarterbacks like him, McMillan, hopefully, Travis Hunter, I think they're going to be good for the hobby, especially in a quarterback-centric world that we live in. But I just want to dial it damn back with Genty. Because, there's a couple teams, and other than those couple teams, I don't see the Patriots making a move. I don't see the Saints making a move. I don't see the Panthers making a move. You pick any of these damn teams. So I think we're talking too much about him. Who else are we talking too much about?
So before I say this,
huge tangent. Sorry, guys.
Before I say this is not a knock to him. He is going to be a great player, I think. Will Campbell.
Okay, I was thinking about Will Campbell.
It's not because he's bad. I think he'll be a great player, no matter where they plug him in or what team gets him.
He screams guard to me.
Yeah, no. I was going to get to that. Yes, he is a tackle, but that dude, he can be a good tackle, but a better guard.
Okay.
He played guard and was better at it than tackle. It's just I hear him talk about, hey, should the Patriots take him at 4? Should the Jags take him at 5? Should even the Raiders think about taking him? It's like this offensive line class is so deep.
Mm-hmm.
There's no I wouldn't do it. He could say arm size or size, great. Issue is he struggles with speed. Not his speed, but dealing with speed rushers and the flexible players. So if you put someone up like Micah Parsons or just someone like that who can easily just bully him, I think he's going to struggle. Now, like I said, if you put him in the guard, perfect. Put him as a guard. It's just you have players like Kelvin Banks, Ahmad Membu, Josh Simmons.
I like Kelvin Banks a lot. The more that we kind of get further into this, he's becoming my number one tackle.
The other guy from Texas, I forgot his name. But this O-line class is deep. And I just think we are talking Campbell as way too high of a prospect.
Kind of like what Eric Fisher was back in 2012 or whatever, where he went 1-1.
Like he's not
the guy, but
he's not someone like Penei Sewell or Rashawn Slater.
Yeah.
He could be better than Slater, but he's not, I wouldn't say he's, or even Joe
Penei Sewell's running hook and ladders. I don't know what lineman can do that if it ain't him, so it's going to be tough to beat.
He's not like someone like Joe Alt, Rashawn Slater, or Penei Sewell.
Mm-hmm.
Where I think it's worth taking at that pick. Like the Chargers, a lot of people hated when they took Joe Alt over Neighbors.
I wish the Patriots took Joe Alt.
I was a huge fan of that because you got to protect Herbert.
Yep.
And look, they got McConkey either way, so they won either way.
Yep, win-win.
So it's like I said, this is not a knock to Campbell at all. Nothing bad about him. I think he'll be a great lineman. I just think we're talking too high about him.
Too high for an eventual guard. What was it? Peter Skoronski, I think, is a guard already.
Yeah.
And he was a tackle, short arms, great tackle in college, but he's got the short arms. Well, who knows? He'd make a great guard, kind of like what you said about Will Campbell. And we're already seeing him playing guard, not even a year later. So it's definitely a conversation when you're talking about a top potential 10 pick, a top 15 pick, most likely. You need to know what you're getting.
Yeah.
And you don't want to pay that high tax on a guard. Where, who was it? The Seahawks GM, I think, said something like, we don't want to pay for
it was the Seahawks GM who said, I think he said that about tackle, or either one of them.
Somebody. My last player that I think we're talking too much about, and I think there's a lot of, I don't know if there's a lot of love for this team or the school, a lot of hate for the school, but Colston Loveland, Michigan. Not Michigan State, Michigan.
Okay.
He's too one-dimensional. He screams Travis Kelce to me, which is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just when I think of tight end, I think maybe as a Patriot fan, I'm just so ingrained with Gronk, who can run up the seam, who can give you a go route, who can give you a slant, a hook, a in and out, whatever you want to, route, a 9 route, button route, but he could block.
Yeah.
And he was an excellent blocker, arguably the best non-lineman blocker for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that when you look at the modern day tight end, is they're becoming more pass catching centric. But you still have guys like, Greg Olson back in the day, Antonio Gates, even Tony Gonzalez, who was a great receiver, but he could also still hit a block. George Kittle seems like the llast remnants of kind of the Gronk mold.
Yeah, I'd say when it comes to that type of tight end, you have George Kittle, Tucker Kraft, which that's a little biased.
Yeah.
But if you watch his tape, he's like George, kind of like George Kittle.
Mm-hmm.
He'll lay you out when it comes to blocking, and then he'll beat you for 60 yards. I think like Laporta, I'm pretty sure is a decent blocking tight end. He had a down year. I don't watch. I could.
He had a huge down year compared to what he was able to do his rookie season.
I could care less about the Lions. I hope they, go away as a franchise. But it's like there are a few tight ends left that can still block. Like I said, George Kittle and Tucker Kraft are the two cornerstones of, hey, we'll block you and then burn you for 60.
Yeah.
So it's like, Tyler Warren, I think, is a perfect example. He's like one of my favorite comparisons. I know we're not talking about Loveland, but Warren, he's a blocker and can catch.
And that's what I want out of my tight end. If I'm taking a tight end in the first round, and obviously I have my choice, I want to take Tyler Warren.
Yeah.
I think he was able to do more at Penn State, especially he was able to make Drew Aller look like a friggin' national title contender. So, that's hard to do. But, the thing with Colson Loveland, will he be great? Probably. Mm-hmm. But he's so one-dimensional. And if he's not catching the ball, then what other purpose does he have? You look at the Kansas City Chiefs, though they're in the Super Bowl, so something's working. But whenever they go run heavy packages, Kelsey's always out. Yeah. Whether it's 4th and goal, whether it's 4th and 1, got to have it, whether it's tush pushes, or they go 6 linemen, 2 fullbacks, and 3 tight ends, whatever the hell it is, he's never in there. And I think you're taking your best player, arguably your best player outside of Mahomes, or at least your best non-quarterback player off the field. And I just don't know if teams are going to want to do that with their first overall picks. I mean, of course, you can teach the guy how to block. I mean, the guy is, 6'5", 245? He's kind of, I don't want to say he's thin and scrawny, but for 6'5", 245, a tight end, I mean, that just screams more receiver to me. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I don't know any 6'5", 245 receivers, but, I mean, again, 25 pounds heavier than probably your average, 6-foot-something receiver. I'm not passing on the guy. I just think we need to dial it back. Yeah. I think the whole Michigan championship last year was kind of I don't want to say, obviously it inflated his value, but I just think there's better value elsewhere outside of him. Even though I still think he'll be pretty good, it's just for a guy that does not freaking block, we're talking too much about him.
Okay, I like that.
At the position, at least.
Yeah.
If he was a wide receiver, he'd probably be a top 4 wide receiver because of the size that he has, but not at the tight end position.
That's exactly why I like Tyler Warren. This is last thing I'll say about Warren, because like I said, we weren't even talking about him. And my favorite comparison I've seen is Jeremy Shockey, but without a screw loose.
Just tighten it down with the Phillips head.
He can block, he can catch, he can. I think he took snaps, he ran the ball a few times. I'm taking a tight end. It's Warren.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm not. If that was my only position, if I needed tight end, kind of like how the Chargers do, he would be a perfect fit. Loveland isn't a bad fit, but I do agree he is being not hyped up a little bit, but it's more of just, is he, a first-round guy? I think he has a first-round grade talent, but it's just
Brock Bowers had a top 5 grade, and he fell to the Raiders at 11 or something like that. So, we see players get dropped all the time, even though their grade is so high, because we see players whose grade is low go so high, like Shadur Sanders, Cam Ward. Everyone has day 2 grades on these guys, but these quarterback-needy teams are going to take them 1, 2, 3, who knows where. But it's going to be really interesting to see where a lot of these chips fall and a lot of these pieces fall. And although Hector and I are talking about all these players, teams that we're talking about, players we're talking about, what we like, we don't like, definitely feel free to comment down below. Hey, I'm a fan of the Panthers and I want them to take this. Oh, I think they should be eyeing this. Oh, I'm a fan of the Jags and I want them to do this. Oh, I love this player. I love that player. Definitely want to hear some feedback and some conversation down in the comment section below. And Hector, as we wrap up this video, give me one take. It could be a player, it could be a team, just something quick before we wrap things up that you feel like you need to get off your chest before we wrap up this video.
Travis Hunter is not the best prospect in this draft. Abdul Carter is.
The sky is blue, my friend. The sky.
I know it's not. I know a lot of people. I know you agree with that. A lot of people don't.
They love the dual way players.
Yes. Yeah. But he's not going to play that. I think he is the 3rd best prospect. Hunter is not 1 or 2. I think he's 3.
Who's 2?
I'd probably throw in Malachi Starks.
My guy. I don't know why he's my guy. He's really not. But
he's not Georgia anymore. So
that's true. It's true. So my thing with, I guess my kind of outgoing take here will be kind of Travis Hunter, because I was thinking about this the other day and I was like, wow, do I make a video about this? But obviously we had this lined up. Yeah. Travis Hunter, if he pans out and he is exactly as advertised that we saw at Colorado, and he's exactly the player that whoever's going to take him is going to get a number 1 corner and a number 1 wide receiver who gets 5 interceptions a year with a dozen pass deflections with 1,000 yards and 8 to 12 touchdowns. If everything works out, he will exactly become the type of player for football that we see Shohei Ohtani for baseball.
Yes.
Dual-way player, top-tier pitcher, top-tier hitter. The market goes crazy over him even all these years later. So obviously outside the rookie year, right now we have Travis Hunter's rookie year. But just this time next year, if Travis Hunter panned out his rookie season the exact way that he's supposed to, or we want him to, then I think we could see a similar trajectory for Travis Hunter in his card market that we are seeing with Shohei Ohtani. And I think that's big craze. Actually, it says cornerback for Travis Hunter on the mock draft. I thought it said cornerback wide receiver at one point, but it just says cornerback right now. Anyways, that's what I have to say about this, guys. Super excited to have been making this video. We're very excited to make more in the future. We're going to try to figure out like a schedule and kind of when we want to kind of bring this to you guys. We want to make sure there's a level of consistency as well, but we also want to make sure we're bringing you breaking news and some important topics. We just don't want to sit here, rinse and repeat over and over again with no news. So we'll figure it out as we go, but definitely stay tuned to this multi-part video series. Not going to go on the extent of calling it a podcast yet, but definitely going to be a good, juicy playlist leading up to the draft. And very, very excited. I know we talked about this before. I don't want to put you on the spot. You going live with me for the draft? Did you want to go live?
I should most likely be able to, yes.
Guys, it's going to be an absolute fun time. It's going to be our, fourth year, fifth year? Let's see, 21, 2, 3, 4, fifth year going live for the NFL draft. My hand's over here. That's crazy, guys. Hopefully you're there, and this is just the beginning. But thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure you smash the thumbs up button, comment down below, check out the channel membership program, subscribe, and we will both see you soon for the next video, guys. Take care.